Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm just going to preface my talk by saying that there will be pictures of pie, so if I make anyone hungry, I'm very sorry. Okay, let's start with a simple question. Who here has siblings? Well, if there's one thing that I've learned about having siblings, is that family dinners didn't look like this. No, they looked a lot more like something from this. The Hunger Games. I mean, in my family, we started using the phrase survival of the fastest. Not the fittest, the fastest. Because if you weren't fast enough, well, that was your dinner gone. I remember once, me and my cousins, we were gonna have calamari as a starter. So we all came down to dinner early. What my oldest cousins decided to do, though, was get up and stand next to the stove. They then proceeded to eat most of the food before we could. What ensued was a lot of arguing, a lot of bargaining, a lot of, it's not fair, you should have been sitting down, or you already had so much, why don't you share? And that made me realize family dinners were a lot like a complicated negotiation where we all assumed one thing: a fixed pie. But what exactly is a fixed pie? Well, in negotiation, a fixed pie is where one assumes that there's a fixed and limited amount of resources. One hypothetical pie. Me and my cousins, just that piece of food. But what happens when we break free from this idea? Let me explain. Let's use me and my dad now as an example. He says that he should get 70% of this pie because he's older, he's 50, and as he likes to say, he doesn't got that many years left to eat. But that's not fair, right? I'm the one who's growing. Shouldn't I get more of the pie? What this leads to is an inevitable stalemate, where both sides are so concerned with trying to maximize the amount of pie that they get that they're unable to find their underlying interests. Harvard Law School, in an article, calls this one of the most destructive assumptions one can make in a negotiation because it turns the negotiation into a zero-sum game, where an increase in one party's share is a decrease in the other. We can only view it as a win-lose. So how exactly do we overcome this? Well, by creating value. I say, okay, I'll accept the 30% of the pie, but I want extra strawberries with my pie. Even though, in terms of size, my portion of the pie has not increased. I'm still only getting 30%. But with the added strawberries, its value has increased. It's now equal to my dad's 70%. This imaginative thinking, when we're able to view beyond the fixed pie, allows us to find creative solutions that otherwise would have been non-existent. Originally, it was my dad who introduced me to this concept. I never thought a negotiation could be this way. That was more than just a win-lose. But that got me thinking, why don't we take this a step further? Because negotiation isn't what I'm here to talk to you about today. I want to take this beyond the world of negotiation and apply it into everyday life. It's been used to shape the world of negotiation. Why can't it shape our own? How do we expand our pie? As humans, we find ourselves obsessed with how little we have. I mean, it's easy these days to just open up your phone and scroll aimlessly through social media, looking at celebrities and their lavish lifestyles. Like here's a screenshot of a TikTok from Olivia Rodrigo, a famous singer. You can see she's flying business class. Here's an Instagram post from Chris Hemsworth. Him and his kids are flying first class. I've never stepped foot in a first-class cabin. I don't know about you guys. So it's natural that we end up comparing ourselves to them, right? Social scientists Leon Festinger, in his theory, the social comparison theory, proposes that humans intrinsically compare ourselves to one another as a form of evaluating ourselves. In a sense, we're so obsessed with wanting more of the pie that we don't stop to think about finding the strawberries that increase its value. I myself am guilty of this, of wanting more of something that isn't going to lead me anywhere. I'm sure many of us are familiar with this feeling of having to wake up to an alarm you really don't want to. But for me, it's having to wake up to go to school 5 days a week. And I'm going to be honest with you, there are some days where I don't even know how I get up. Sorry to the teachers. But I used to dread it much more than I do now. Hated it. I was so fixed on trying to increase my time before school. I was like, do I wake up earlier? Do I sleep less? What do I do? And then it hit me. I was looking at it the wrong way. I should have been trying to make my time before school count. I started asking myself, what do I know makes me happy? What is something that I look forward to? What are the strawberries here? And I found them in listening to my favorite music on the way to school, or watching the highlights of the football game the night before. It'd especially be a good morning if my team won, but you see, by finding these strawberries, I had turned what otherwise would have been a boring section of time into something fun. And I started to look forward to waking up. But sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes you don't realize you've had these strawberries until they're taken away from you. Here's a photo of me and my grandfather. I'm 6 in this, and in the back, I'm sure everyone can see, there's a piano. I've been playing since I was around 5, and it all started because of him. My grandfather was an amazing pianist and violinist, and he was the one who used to practice with me. As a kid, I hated it. I was counting down the seconds until piano practice time ended, and I would be reunited with my iPad. I mean, I was obsessed with trying to increase my iPad time that I just rushed through practice. And it wasn't until my grandfather died the year after this photo was taken that I realized he made piano practice something special, something worth missing. He was the strawberries in this situation. I mean, there's a reason why one of my most vivid memories with him was sitting right there on that bench, practicing. If I could go back and scream at younger me to just cherish these moments a little bit more, I would. Because these are the strawberries I'll never have again. So this brings me to the conclusion that this idea not only teaches us how to create value, but to treasure the strawberries we already have. Sometimes the best ideas are just hidden behind a couple of the wrong ones. I'm not saying wanting more of the pie is bad, no. But focusing only on that, well, it's not going to get you very far. I don't stand here before you today with the answers to all your problems. I can tell you that it requires you to find out what are your interests. what is the missing piece to your pie? What are your strawberries? Because in life, it's not about obtaining the biggest piece of the pie, but rather finding these strawberries that transform it. Or it's simply appreciating the strawberries we already have. When we are able to view the world as more than what's right in front of us, we'll find these innovative solutions. By taking a step back and asking ourselves, what do we value? That's how we reshape the pie. Becoming aware of what you take for granted. I mean, ask yourself how you would feel if this thing or person was taken away from you, and you'll find the hidden value. So I hope you end up appreciating someone or something you never knew brought you happiness before. I hope you were able to reframe your perspective on the most basic problems. Because, like anything, once we can do it enough, it becomes natural. And hopefully, you'll all be able to find the strawberries for your pie. Thank you.